Hi everyone. As Jeff said, my name is Billy and I work in the services team here at TaroWorks. So in this presentation, we are going to take a dive into how you can leverage TaroWorks to help schedule work for your mobile users to be completed at a specific time or at specific times. This setup will include using standard Salesforce functionality such as reporting, list views, and formula fields, as well as TaroWorks functionality such as drill down hierarchy filters. Hopefully by the end of this presentation, you'll be able to set up a scheduling use case that can help you more efficiently and effectively plan the work that your organization needs to complete. So the agenda for the presentation today, I'm first going to discuss the purpose of setting up scheduling in your organization, as well as what the advantages are. I'll then take you through a demo of a specific scheduling use case that I've set up. We'll then look at how the scheduling from that use case is configured and how you can then go about configuring your own scheduling use case. We'll then stop for a Q&A session where you can ask any questions that you may have about anything that I've gone through. And then lastly, I'll end off with our support policy and how you can go ahead and submit support requests to us. So with respect to TaroWorks, the purpose of scheduling is to create a TaroWorks job or TaroWorks jobs that the mobile users can use to help them plan their weekly work or whatever time frame your organization works in. The administrator of the organization will be able to assign and push specific work to mobile users depending on these mobile users' current capacity. And within the job, the mobile users can then use the records in the drill down hierarchy as a to-do list for themselves. So some of the advantages of setting up scheduling. So scheduling can help both the back-end users as well as the mobile users define exactly what their work goals are for that specific scheduled time. And this will also help all parties involved to be on the same page with regards to what work needs to be done. And another advantage is that setting up scheduling, the mobile users will only have the records on the device that they will actually be needing for their work. So this will reduce clutter and confusion or potential confusion, as well as potentially decrease the synchronization time for these mobile users, as only the records that they need will be sent down to the mobile devices. So I think without further ado, we can hop straight into a demo. First, to set the scene of the demo, for this demo, I'm going to be using our fictitious company called Aquacomb. And Aquacomb builds wells in communities and then tracks how these wells impact their communities as a whole, as well as how these wells impact individual community members. Also, Aquacomb performs maintenance on these wells if there is ever a need for this maintenance. And that's what we're going to be focusing on today. So the use case today is when there is a specific issue with one of these wells or more than one of these wells, and maintenance needs to be carried out, a community member or community leader will call Aquacomb and submit a service request for maintenance on a specific well. And so that's where we start with our use case today. Then Aquacomb has a backend user called a scheduler. So this user logs into Salesforce.com. And this scheduler will then assign these service requests to specific mobile users. In this case, those mobile users are called technicians. And these service requests will be assigned to these technicians depending on what their current capacity is, as well as what the current capacity of other technicians are. And so once these service requests have been assigned to these technicians, the technicians will then receive these service requests by logging into the TaroWorks application on their Android devices and synchronizing. And once they have these service requests on their devices, they'll be able to then plan and execute these requests. So also, as you can see on the right-hand side of the screen, the sub data model that we're going to be using for this use case consists of 3 objects. We have our service request object, which is the object where these service requests are logged into. And each service request will belong to a certain well site, as well as at some point a specific user will be assigned to that service request. So in our case, that user will be the technician. And that's the use case that we're going to be using today. So I'm going to now go through an example of this use case. So first of all, I am now logged in as a scheduler on Aquacone's Salesforce.com org, and I am now on the service request tab here. So I've created a new list view called unassigned service requests, which I'm going to open now. And as we can see here, so these are the service requests that have been logged by the communities, but are yet to be assigned to a specific technician. And so their statuses are pending. So the status of the service request can either be pending or completed. And what this scheduler now needs to do is, with these unassigned service requests, they now need to look at the capacities of the technicians working in the areas and assign these service requests to the correct technicians. So to do this, the scheduler has also created a report called Service Visits Next Week. And in this report, we can see all of the technicians working in the area. And for the upcoming week, we can see what their plans are, and or what maintenance these technicians need to carry out next week. So we can see here we've got four technicians. Now, if we go back to the unassigned service request, so the first one for Amber City East 10 well site is this has been requested to occur on the 6th of April. And so as the scheduler, I would go back into this report and go through these my technicians' capacities and see that the only technician that does not have a request on the 6th of April would be Aaron Yamelka. So what I will then do as the scheduler is edit this service request, and for the technician, I will add Aaron Yamelka. And so now that service request has been assigned. If I go into this report and then refresh, we can see that on the 6th of April, that has now been assigned to Aaron. And similarly for this service request here, so the date requested for this is for the service request at Carrotville 45 is the 7th of April. Again, if I look at my report, I can see that the only technician that does not have a service request on that day is Billy Cohen. And so what I will then do similarly is assign this service request to Billy Cohen. And now we have no more service requests that need to be assigned. And the scheduler's job is now done. So now taking off the scheduler's hat and putting on the technician's hat, I am now logged into TaroWorks as Billy Cohen, the technician. And what I'm going to do is first synchronize to get any updates from Salesforce onto my device. And the job that we're going to be using is called Service Visit. So this Service Visit job is what the technicians will use when they arrive at the well site that they need to perform maintenance on. So if I open up this job here and start the Service Visit task, You can see in the drill-down hierarchy, it starts at the user object and then traverses down to the service request object. So if we go back to the presentation, we're basically starting here at the user object and then going down to the service request object. So for mobile record assignment, which we'll see later, is that the technician's own user record is assigned to that technician. So if I now click on the Billy Cohen user, I can see all of the service requests that I need to perform or that are currently in a pending status for me. And we can see that these are now ordered by date dash the website. And so now this is basically my to-do list for this week or for the following week. I need to go to Amber City East on the 6th of April, then the 7th, go to Carrettville, and the 8th, go to Amber City East 12. And so this is my to-do list. Now let's say, you know, the 6th of April has come, and today is the 6th of April. I will then go into this or click on that record, that service request. And then what I can do here is, let's say the date of visit is the, 6th of April. Okay, we have a couple of fields here that are pre-populated, which I'm going to get into with the configuration. One of them is the status, which is going to be changed to completed. You can see that the issue reported for this service request is that the pump is broken. So as a technician, once I have gone and performed maintenance on this pump, you can give notes. So you can say fixed pump. Click next, mark that task as complete, and then synchronize. Okay, so that's been synchronized into Salesforce. If I go back as that technician into the service visit job and click on my user, I can see that that service request is no longer available for me to choose because it is now in a completed status. Then back as the scheduler now, logged into Salesforce, if I refresh this report, I can see that Billy Cohen only has these 2 service requests left to do this week. And I've created another list view called completed service requests. And now I can see that it would be this one here. But if I click into the service request here, it was completed by Billy Cohen on the 6th, and I can see the notes and what occurred. So that is a sort of quick and simple example of how you can use scheduling with TaroWorks. I will now move into the configuration. So for the configuration, there's a couple of things that we're going to look into. The first is that you can see when I look at these records here, they are ordered by date dash the well site. And so that's why it makes this to-do list for this mobile user a lot easier. So the first thing we'll look into is how to create this field you know, that basically concatenates the date and the well site so that the records are ordered the way that we want them to be ordered. So this field, if we go to setup and into our service request object and fields and relationships, I created a formula field called date and well site. Okay, and very simply, it is just taking the text value of the date requested and adding a space and a dash, and then it is adding the well site name. And that is what results from this formula. Okay. Next, what we're going to look into is the form that was set up. Okay, so here's the form. It's called service visits. Very simple form that was set up. But essentially, we have our well site name and service request ID. These are just two fields that we're going to be using in field mapping to reference the well sites that the service request belongs to, as well as give the service request ID so that Salesforce can find the service request and make the updates that we want. We've got data visits, the status. So as you saw in the form, if I just go and open up another one of these here, you can see that the status is pre-calculated as completed. And to do that, I use a dynamic operation. We've had one of our last sessions, our last deep dive sessions was on dynamic operations. So if you would like to know more about that, you can share a link to the YouTube video. But that is essentially this dynamic operation sets the response to the status question as completed, and then issue reported and service visit notes. So it's a relatively straightforward TaroWorks job list. We have our well site and service request objects, well site being the reference object. And then we just specify the fields that our responses to the questions will be mapped back to. So that's the form. There's nothing specific about scheduling that you need to set up in the form. Next, what we're going to look at is the setup of the job. So if I quickly clone the service visit job, okay, so the drill down hierarchy, as we've seen in the job, starts at user and then traverses down to service request. Right, and that's because we are assigning specific service requests to specific users. We call the users technicians. And so this drill down hierarchy, again, it's nothing really specific about scheduling, but we have two levels, user and service request. We've added a filter on the service request object in the drill down hierarchy. And this is we're only wanting to see records, we're only wanting the mobile users to see records, service request records that are currently in a pending status. Once they finish the job, by selecting one of these records, that the status is changed to completed. That's why the record is no longer available to them in the drill-down hierarchy. And the task is just a one-task job. It's a very simple collect data task where we are mapping the well site name, the issue reported, and the service request ID from Salesforce onto the form. So with regards to how TaroWorks works and what's different about scheduling, I think the main thing here is being able to leverage your Salesforce reports and list views to help understand what the current capacities of your mobile users are and how to assign them specific work. And then secondly is leveraging the formula fields to be able to order your records in such a way that helps the mobile users understand exactly what work they need to complete and when. And as you can see here, the fields that we're displaying in the drill-down hierarchy for service requests is that formula field, date and well site. Lastly, with the configuration, just quickly, is the mobile record assignment. So if we go to our TaroWorks Mobile Users tab, and here is the technician Billy Cohen's mobile user record. So we can see that we've assigned one user record to this mobile user, and that user record is the user record of that mobile user. And by doing that, when you assign a record to a mobile user, all of its children records are automatically assigned. So that's why we only need to assign the Penny Cohen user record to this mobile user, and then all the service requests that are children of this user will automatically be assigned to the user. Okay, great. So that brings us to the end of the demo and the configuration. I'm going to now open it up to anyone that may have a question about what we've been through or a specific use case you're thinking of that you'd like some clarification on, or yeah, any questions or comments. Please feel free to ask them.
Great. Thanks, Billy, for that great presentation on how one can use the drill-down hierarchies to design their use case. So we have one question from John, who is asking whether he can has their mobile users use see maps on mobile regarding the use case that you have just explained when they go to the field, be able to see map.
To be able to see maps?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's a great question. So I actually set up another job. So the answer to that is yes. So I've set up I didn't use maps in this current setup because it would require a little bit of automation. But I set up another job called community member check-in. So what this job does, also Aquacode, but it's not the technicians, is that once a month, Aquacode wants to have check-ins with the community members to see how everything's going. So I, as Billy Cohen, would want to, I want to see which members I need to visit this month, right? So for a specific well site, I'm going to choose a region and a well site. So these are the 3 members I need to check up on this month. And using TaroWorks or using maps.me, which is an application, you can essentially, if a record has GPS coordinates on it, you can view all of those records from your drill down hierarchy in the maps.me app, which is a free app. And so you can see here, I don't know how easy it is to see, but those 3 green dots are is the location of these 3 members, and that's this blue location sign is where I currently am. And so I can now say I want to visit Iwadua. I can now click on that user and click on route to, which will then give me directions to that user's house, or to that user's farm, or whatever the context is. So yes, in short, you can leverage maps when using scheduling, and it's actually a really good use case because you might need to visit multiple places in one day, and you can then view all of those on a map and help plan what the best route to take is. So thanks, John. Great question.
Yeah, great question. Yes, looking at whether there is any hands raised or further questions. I think those are the questions that we have for now. So yeah, if you have any questions later, please feel free to send us a support ticket or reach out through the customer success manager. As I had mentioned earlier, also this session will be shared for your reference. I think that's a good point to end the session. So thanks everyone. Thanks Billy. Thanks everyone. Bye bye.